hope everyone's doing great today. Today we are going to be working on the third bullet point in your packet, and we're going to be talking about decimals. So the directions here say, using 8 numbers, create 2 decimals. The first step that we're going to do is we're going to add to find their total and record our answer. Then we're going to subtract to find their difference and record our answer. And then we are going to repeat it 4 times. So today we're just practicing adding and subtracting decimals. So the first thing I always remember when we're talking about decimals is I'm going to make my place value chart. So we have our decimal point in the middle, and over here we have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. And on this side, we got our ones, tens, and thousandths. I already picked 8 numbers that I'm going to use to make 2 different decimals. I picked 9, 7, 3, 2, 1, 8, 4, and 5. So real quick, I'm just going to use 4 of those numbers and make my first decimal. Notice we're not going to use our tens and our hundreds just because we only need a number with 4 digits in it, but I just put those as a good review. So I'm going to put 9 first. So I got 9 point. I'm going to do 7, 3, 2. So I just went ahead and crossed those off so that I can know that I already used those 4 numbers. So I got my first number, which is 9 ones and 7 tenths, 3 hundredths, 2 thousandths. Okay. Now I'm going to use my remaining 4 numbers to make my second decimal. Remember, I don't have to put these in order. I just chose to do that for me. You can do it however you want. You actually get to create your own numbers. So again, I'm going to put 1, my decimal point, 8, 4, 5. So now I have my 2 decimals. My second one is 1 1 and 8 tenths, 4 hundredths, 5 thousandths. You could also say it's 1 1 and 845 thousandths if you want. So my first step that we're going to do is we are going to add our 2 numbers. So remember with decimals, our most important thing is that we always line up those decimal points. So I'm going to write my numbers right on top of each other like this, but I'm going to put it down here, okay? So I got 9 and 732 thousandths and 1 and 845 thousandths. So I wrote them right on top of each other. Our next step is to just add. So as long as you're lining up those decimals, you are doing it perfectly. So as you can see here, first we're going to add our 2 plus 5. Then we're going to move on to our next one and say 3 plus 4. Then we're going to move over here and say 7 plus 8. I'm already noticing that right here I'm going to have to regroup. And then we'll move on to our ones place last. You'll always start in your decimal side. You're never going to start with your ones. You're going to start in the thousandths place. So we got 2 plus 5 is 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. Just a little update. Now I'm going to do 7 plus 8. And I know 7 plus 8 is 15. And I know that I need to regroup. So I'm going to put the 5 down here. And I'm going to carry my 1 up here and regroup. My 5, carry my 1. And now last thing is in my ones place. I'm going to say 1 plus 9 plus 1 would be 11. Now, I know that you're already seeing that I may have forgotten something. That's right. What I forgot was my decimal. So I got 11 and 577 thousandths. Or you could say 11 and 5 tenths, 7 hundredths, 7 thousandths. Okay, so we solved our first little project was to add. Our next is to subtract. And when you're subtracting decimals, you need to make sure you put the bigger number first. So I actually need to do a little bit of comparing here. I'm going to look I'm always going to start in my ones place, unless they're bigger. If there's tens or hundreds, you would start there. But I'm going to start my ones place. I'm going to compare. What is bigger, 9 or 1? I see that my 9 is bigger, so that's going to be my bigger number that is going to go on top of my subtraction problem. So we're actually going to set it up exactly like this, but instead of addition, we're going to put subtraction. So take a second to do that. Okay, I'm all set up. I hope you are too. So I got my 9.732 and my 1.845 underneath. Remember, you might have your second number be bigger when you go to do this on your own, and that's okay. That number would still go on top. It just so happens that my first number was bigger. Okay, so again, we're always going to start with our decimals. We're not going to start in our ones. And when I go to look at this, I'm noticing I'm going to have to do 2 minus 5. I can't do 2 minus 5, so I'm going to need to regroup, and I'm going to have to borrow from my hundredths place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to take 1 from the 3. I'm going to take away 1, so now it's only going to have 2 left over. I'm going to turn my 2,000s into 12,000s. So now I have 12 minus 5. 12 minus 5 is 7, so I'm going to put that underneath. And now I'm going to move on to my hundredths place. Again, I'm going to say, can I do 2 minus 4? No, I cannot. So I'm going to have to borrow again. So I'm going to borrow from my tenths place. And I'm going, if I didn't say hundredths before, I was talking about hundredths. We're going to borrow from our tenths place. I'm going to take away 1 from the 7. That will become 6. Now, the most common error I always saw when we were doing this in class at school is that people were not subtracting correctly. You need to remember to regroup. If your top number is not bigger, you cannot subtract. Okay, do not forget. So we regrouped, we took away 1 from 7, it's 6, and now I need to change my 2 hundredths to 12 hundredths. We got a lot of 12s today. So we got 12 minus 4 is going to be 8. And then I'm going to move on to my tenths place. I made a hard problem for you guys today. I'm sorry. So again, guess what? My top number, it's still smaller. I got 6 minus 8. I cannot do that. I need to regroup and borrow from that 9. Okay? So I'm going to take away 1, 9, which is from the ones place. And it's going to become 8. And then I'm going to change it to having 16 tenths. Okay? Notice subtraction always gets a little bit messier. So now I have 16 minus 8 will be 8. And then I'll finish up the problem by doing 8 minus 1. Okay? 16 minus 8 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. And this time I did not forget my decimal point. So my answer is 7 ones and 887 thousandths. Or you could say 7 ones and 8 tenths, 8 hundredths, 7 thousandths. Okay. Now I know it took me a long time to do it, but I think you can move along a little bit quicker unless you're explaining and teaching it to one of your younger siblings. You need to repeat this 4 times. We've already done it once. So in total today, you're going to do it 5 times. We've done it once. So I want you to go back and do it 4 more times. If you're confused about anything, you can rewatch the video or you can reach out to your teachers by text or phone call or email. Thank you, and we will see you tomorrow. Remember, this week we have extra activities for you, so if you want to make sure that you are a pro at adding and subtracting decimals, go to your teacher's pages and go ahead and do those extra practice activities. It's important that you guys are pushing yourselves during this time and getting as much practice as you can while we are not meeting together at school.